Hi, through this video, I will present you my interim project for KBH Hospice. The site is located in the city of Brenton on Bramley Road. As you can see on this Google Earth view, today the site is a bit remote, but real estate operations are to be expected. To begin the design of the project, I started with the previous site analysis done with the class. In this analysis, I returned two main pieces of information. The first, the proximity to Bramley Road, which while convenient from an accessibility standpoint, creates a significant noise and visual constraint. And the site is also adjacent to a road that will be built in the future, so the importance of which is difficult to predict, but will surely be a source of a nuisance as well. The second is the site is incredibly fortunate to be directly adjacent to the green belt. This proximity offers the site important sensory qualities, such as view, calm, smell, and direct access to nature. So this characteristic is therefore the main asset of the site. It is on this negative and positive characteristics that I base my logic for the implementation of the project. First, the rooms, the most important part of the program, needed the maximum visual and auditory comfort, are placed in a direct access to the green belt. Access to nature is thus privileged here compared to exposure to rooms other than the north. However, the state of the resident does not necessarily require direct exposure. A northern exposure seems to be also judicious. To manage the relationship to the road, I decided to put in the alignment of Bramley Road common spaces. The latter does not necessarily need the calm of the rooms, and there are transitional spaces between the public space outside the hospice and the private space of the rooms. Thus, they create the first threshold to the site and form a barrier that isolates the rest of the site from the nuisance of the road. On the east side of the future road, the building is protected from the street by successive setbacks so that the spaces do not face the road and the exterior spaces serve as a transition. The project has three distinct outdoor spaces. Each space has a specific function. The patio is created to provide the entire program with direct visual access to nature. The landscape treatment is more abstracted to allow for spiritual reflection or a quiet moment in the life of the hospice. The shape of the patio also allows for efficient organization of the hospice, avoiding dead-end corridors and linking together every spaces. Each suite has its own outdoor space. These private gardens open directly into the green belt and invite the green belt to infiltrate the site. Finally, we have the large garden, which is a common space where users are invited to stroll and enjoy the park. So these three spaces are also articulated in a logic of a journey, both physical from the entrance to the room and also spiritual. From the patio, one follows a stream that continues to the green belt through the rooms. This stream symbolizes the accompaniment of the residents and their families in the last moments of their lives. So the program is spread over two floors. This choice has for objective to free the ground to the maximum and make the building light while creating a hierarchy between the various spaces of the program. The floor is also placed at the northern corner of the site, which is an important corner from an urban point of view, so I wanted to mark it with a greater height. As mentioned earlier, the majority of the rooms face the green belt. So only two rooms face the large park, but this is intentional in the idea of differentiating the suites between them. The nurse station and the tub room are nested in the series of suites to be close. The nurse station is also the welcome to the residential area from the reception. The common areas are located southwest of the site, around the patio. Thus, they are both accessible directly from the reception and close to the resident space, while maintaining the privacy of the latter. The offices are located on the second floor, because unlike the rest of the program, they do not need to be in direct proximity to the residential area. And moreover, their positioning on the floor refers to the symbolism of their function. They direct and allow the establishment to function. Finally, the technical part and BOH are in the south of the plot and distributed between the program to ensure proper functioning. We have a separate entrance for the public. So from the Bramley Road to the reception, which is, and you can see directly into the patio. From there, you can go to the common spaces or more in the residential area with the nurse station first, or to go upstairs to go to the offices. And you also have a BOH entrance for technical, for storage, etc., and a staff entrance in the second road in the east side. So the office and technical parts are two parts to be hidden from the rest of the hospice because we want to preserve the warm and home-like feeling of the establishment. Thus, we are on the floor or at the end of the building. And when you are in the main spaces, you cannot really sense the fact that there are offices or technical space in the building. Then, after seeing the general organization of the hospice, I would like to talk about the design concept. I started to talk about the organization because the previously exposed logic was my basis for the design of the general plan. However, at the beginning of the design, I thought it in parallel to the concept of the curves. Initially, the curve is for me an organic form that refers to notions such as nature, softness, delicacy, and elegance. So the building's purpose is to accompany individuals and their families in a difficult and important moment of their lives. These notions seemed appropriate. But in a more scientific way this time, a study conducted by the University of Toronto showed that humans would tend to prefer curved objects and spaces rather than sharp lines. So for several reasons, we would find curves more beautiful and reassuring than objects with sharp lines. So the design is based on a simple principle: work with curved spaces whenever they are associated with nature, such as the patio and the hallway, the common spaces and the garden, and bedroom and their balcony. So the more pragmatic spaces, such as the technical spaces and the offices, follow a rectilinear logic. In the resident part, the curve accompanies the path from the corridor to the room. The curve delicately envelopes the resident's bed to give a feeling of being in a bubble, as in a cocoon, isolated and protected from the outside world. The curve also finds its place on the ceiling by raising it slightly to let the natural light pass through. The work on the ceiling is very important to me because, unlike a simple room, the resident is forced to living in to a lying position, so he will experiment the ceiling in a different way than someone with in a stand-up position, with standing. So the resident suite is intended also as a space in its own right and in the hospice where nature is strongly present. From the corridor to the room, the user has constant direct and visual access to the outside spaces. And finally, the facades aim to clearly express the curves of the project while insisting on the verticality and lightness of the building in response to the forest of the green belt. The facade expresses also in its language clearly the private, which is the resident suite, and the public part of the program. As you can see in the north elevation, which is the resident suite, and the west elevation. So I would like to thank you for your attention and see you soon.